Thank you for joining me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. Today, we're going to talk about nurturing what is best in your child. There is one very important qualification for this. You have to know your child. I cannot tell you how many times I talk to people and they'll say, "Oh, my child is this, my child is that, my child is this." Then I start doing counseling with that child or I meet with that child. I'm really shocked. I see so many things that their parent did not describe, and I struggle at times to find what their parent told me was there. I say that to you because if you have this very predetermined mindset about what your kid is like, maybe you're not seeing them clearly. And a lot of times, parents will project themselves onto their child. And they'll say, "Oh, my child is just like me. They are." And they start this listing of what they think their child is like. Then I meet the child. That's not at all what I'm seeing. And so I want to encourage you. And I do mean if you have a baby, from the time they are teensy, teensy, tiny, to watch that child with very well informed eyes and try to see, who am I looking at? Because I'm telling you, my one son is very much like me, and he was reasonably easy for me to parent. My other son was nothing like me at all, and he was a perpetual challenge. I can say that. Even into his late teen years, he was much more challenging for me to parent. And now I can tell you without even any reservation, he is my best friend in the world. And so it took me a very long time to learn about him and know how to relate to him well. Don't be discouraged, is my point when I tell you that this is a lifelong journey and you've got to be in it for the long haul. That's just what I mean. So, in finding what is best in your child, you have to have eyes that see and you have to have ears that hear. So keep an eye on that child and listen to that child and pay attention to what they really like. I want to encourage you about something, and I know that this is very challenging for many of us, but I want you to keep electronics out of your child's hands as much as you can until they are about 5 years old. I know, right? In this world, I actually did just make that very radical statement to you. There's already a lot of study that suggests that little kids who have their hands on electronics when they are under 2 years old, it changes their brain function. And it can literally limit their ability to think creatively and to problem solve. I'm not even going to talk to you about what it does to their attention span, etc., and all those firing bright lights and colors and noises, what they expect out of life in light of that, which is not realistic. So I really want you to get things out of your kids' hands if you've already put them there. And if you have a baby, don't do it. I'm not joking around. Do not do it. This is for their well being. I say that to you because then you actually have to look at them and listen to them. Pay attention to what they like, pay attention to what they're interested in. I'll give you the craziest example. My grandson, when he was 5 years old, he'd say, "Granny, look at that Audi. Granny, did you just see that BMW?" I said, "How do you know this?" He said, "Oh, Granny, cars are amazing." I mean, don't you think so? It was wild to me that this little kid, he knows so much about cars. And he's now getting a mechanical engineering degree and he really wants to work on designing cars like for the rest of his life. So, what do you know? He was very interested in automobiles and that has continued. And thankfully, his dad and his mom, frankly, fostered that in him. That's a really great thing. Okay, so what is best in your child? And what do they really love? I'll talk to you about what I mean by that. You look at a kid and he's always taking Legos and building things. And then he'll get kind of critical of it. He'll go, yeah, this could be better and this should be better. And he rips it all apart and he does another version of it. And he tears that part apart and he's begging you for more Legos all the time. And then he does it another way. This is a kid with a really creative mind who probably likes to build or at least develop ideas about the best way to build something. Pay attention to that. So then buy him other things. Buy him multiple kinds of, I guess I'll call toys or developmental things, and allow him in different ways to build things or to, establish a different pattern for things. Foster that in him. Then you have this kid and he wants a Lego set and he builds exactly what's on the box. And he makes it exactly like the picture and he puts it down. Well, A, he's not super creative, and B, he may not be much of a builder. He's interested in the action of putting that exact thing together. But let me tell you something about that person. That person is really good at following directions. That person is really good at taking someone else's ideas and implementing it. Okay. So you take what is best and you nurture that. I'm going to give you a really fascinating one. And I did this, and my friends thought I was a little crazy, but I thought it was really vital. So you have a little girl, and she's just wild, or in somebody's language, she's an absolute pistol. I mean, she just really is something else. She's always bossing people around, and she knows exactly what she wants. And she goes into the store, and she even tells the salesperson, I don't like that color, and I'm not going to do that. And my mom makes me wear that, and it's hideous. This kid, she's really something. And you watch her, and she's good at influencing other people, and she's really good at helping other people follow along behind her. Do you know she's probably a natural born leader? And especially if she has a really creative mind, a really busy mind, then she very well may grow up and be, a CEO of a company or a very high powered executive. Don't try to squash that in her. Don't tell her, you're supposed to be a lady. You're a little girl. You shouldn't be so bossy. You shouldn't be so pushy. Don't be trying to take what is natural and normal in your child and squelch it. Don't be doing that. I'm talking about developing what is in them. Now, with that being said, let me say to you, that means developing, okay? So if she's pushy and rude, then you have to teach her, it is a great trait in you. You are a very good leader and a very strong person. That doesn't mean you may speak to me like that. That doesn't mean that it's appropriate for you to speak to your sister like that. You can ask, you can have influence, but you don't need to be pushy and you don't need to be rude. That's what I'm talking about when I say nurture what is best. Okay, I'm going to go to an illustration that probably most of us would understand. If you have a bonsai, which I've always loved them, that little tree is controlled in every step of its growth. It's wrapped with wires and it's tied down, anchored in certain places, and certain branches are just bent a little bit and formed. That entire time while that little tree is growing and maturing and developing, it is being influenced by the exertion of a certain amount of control or force. That's exactly what I mean in nurturing what is best in your child. If you see your child and they're always drawing across things and they take markers and they've written down the entire hallway in beautiful pictures, they believe, you very well may have an artist on your hands. And I don't mean someone who's going to sit when they're an adult with a canvas and paint, but someone with an artistic flair, someone with a certain amount of creativity and color and vibrancy in them that they want to get out. Well, you need to nurture that, foster that. Literally, you can get them an easel and some paint. Make sure that you get paint that you can wash up when they're little and allow them to paint. And you can get one of those, it's a, got a back and a ton of papers on it. We use them in school. And let them draw a picture and take that one off and do another one, at least a couple a day, and foster that in them. Get them things like Play Doh or clay and make sure that they have felt markers and colored pens. I really love gel pens. especially the glittery ones, those are good for kids and they tend to like them. And not just girls, so don't limit that and go, oh, you're a boy, you can't have that. That's ridiculous. Let them do it. And it might include things like watercolor pencils. I really like those because you can either put down the water and then do the pencil, or do the pencil and use the water to spread it around. Let them experiment and develop areas of their creativity. Now, I'm going to tell you a very interesting one, and this is a great one to nurture in your child. You see a child who's really organized. Literally, I know a child like this. Lays everything out by color inside of their drawer. Everything is put in there so neatly, and they get upset when their drawer is out of order. Do you know that is an amazing gift? It may not even be who you are, and you might wonder where that trait came from, but I want you to nurture that in them. Give them things to organize. Literally give them lots of pieces of paper, maybe even your bills, and let them put it in order by date. Let them start to organize things alphabetically. There are just so many ways to foster that in them. Let them put their books in order by alphabetizing the books or alphabetical order by author. Foster that organizational trait in them. You might even say to them, the bathroom cupboard is a mess. Let's take everything out. And how about you help me put this all back in a way that makes sense to you? Foster, nurture what is best in your child. Oh, and if your child is a very nasty person, not very nice and kind of cruel and acts really terribly, you can still foster the other thing in them by helping them find a friend who really needs them. Maybe a handicapped friend or someone who doesn't have everything that you have. And say, let's do something nice for, Johnny down the street. And so let's take him out for pizza and we can talk to him and help your child develop what really isn't necessarily there, but a trait that you would like to see in them. So I want you to develop what is best in your child, but it's easiest of all when it is already in there. The thing is, as you remember, we have discussed, there are two sides to every trait. So when you're looking at something and you keep seeing the negative side and you keep seeing the challenging side, you keep seeing what you think of as the bad part of it, I want you to remember there is a good side to that, and I want you to find it because that's what you're looking to develop. It's very obvious that's strong in that child. It's really deep embedded into them. Great. Now get them to learn how to flip that over. Okay, so we talked about this before, having a child who's pretty willful and nurturing that will, seeing that as a good thing. When that child is willful to the point that they're hitting other people and trying to make it happen and driving you crazy at the checkout at Walmart, I want this, I want this, I want this, and they're not going to quit. I mean, they do not give up because that's who they are. They are tenacious. You say to them, I really appreciate this part of you. They'll be in shock, especially the first few times they hear this. This is an absolutely amazing part of you. It's not going to control my life. I don't intend to let it control yours. You are going to learn how to have self control and get a hold of this will, but I'm going to let you direct it in a way that is going to be amazingly good for you and give them something that is a huge challenge. I mean, far beyond what you think they are capable of, and let them apply their will to either learning that or mastering that, or perhaps not being able to learn it and finding out that there is a limit to what their will can accomplish. But develop that will, nurture that will. The other thing is anger. Now, let me tell you, anger is not a great trait. Someone who's breaking stuff and yelling and screaming, and if someone around their sphere has cussed a lot, even cussing at a couple years old and bullying, yeah, that doesn't seem like a good trait. The opposite side of that, though, is a very large amount of emotional energy. And so get them to channel that energy. I have a friend, she said she never gets more done than when she's really ticked off and she'll tackle her house. So get them to take all of that emotional energy and channel it somewhere positive. Okay? All right. So I want you to nurture what is best in your child. The challenge question today is, what is best in my child? And then I really want you to ask this question. Have I seen my child clearly? And have I heard what is important to my child? Because if you don't, it's going to be awfully difficult to determine what is best in them and nurture it and pull it out. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button. It's been very good to be with you today. I hope that you love exploring who your child is and getting to know him or her better today. I will look forward to seeing you soon.